The Metropolitan, the Cove, the Fox Hermosa, the Bijou, whatever you want to call it. It's an iconic building, standing proud and majestic in our small beach community. The fact that my great uncle, Ralph Madison, provided the funding, and my grandfather, Richard Douglas King, was the architect and builder, makes it impossible for me not to be proud.
But what I remember taking away the most from the Bijou Theater were the details, how grandiose the whole place seemed to me as a kid. Like from the carpet, like the maroon and turquoise kind of ugly carpet, but it's still kind of fancy. The buying the ticket at the window before you go in, I thought that was really fun and neat, something different, and how you just kind of walked in, the marble flooring, and when you walked into the concession area before you walked into the actual theater, it's rounded, it's very covey feeling, hence the Cove, right? So it's very covey feeling, and boys' bathrooms were on one side, girls' bathrooms were on the other. The velvet ropes to get to the concession stand, they weren't always out, but every now and again they would be out, and it was just, I don't know, there was something really special about it. Even the sconces on the wall, I thought, were really detailed and very pretty.
And I think if we had $2, maybe if we had $1.50, we could go down there and we could get into the show for all those features, all those films, and we could buy enough popcorn and candy. Like our favorite thing was this thing called jujubes, and you know what jujubes are? We would stick them on our teeth.
They stuck.
Yeah, and then we couldn't get them off.
Yeah.
And so we'd have a lunch or semi-dinner of jujubes and popcorn, and then we would go home, and that was our day. And we didn't spend more than, I think it was pretty close to $1, $1.25 was all we ever spent. And we'd often ride our bikes down there, and we'd hope our bikes were still there when we got out. And then we'd go down to the Strand, we'd ride home.
Sounds like a good day.
Yeah.
We had B1 Bob Dornan, who was our local congressman at the time. He went to Orange County where he got redistricted, but he was very conservative, but he was a former TV show host, so he was really an animated person. He was very fun to talk to. It was just his political views were just way off to the right. So we invited him to the office for an interview, and while he was upstairs, we switched the marquee to read Deep Throat starring Linda Lovelace. Then we brought him downstairs. We kind of walked him through the lobby and out the front door and photographed him looking like he was just leaving a showing, an afternoon showing, no less, of Linda Lovelace and Deep Throat. And so we printed it, of course, and he was a great sport about it. I mean, he thought it was really funny. So having the theater was kind of a nice prop. You know, we could do things with it. We were on the same floor as a projection booth, so we could walk in and watch the movies while we were waiting for stories to get done.
Quentin Tarantino. At this time, Quentin Tarantino was working over at Video Archives in Manhattan Beach. He used to come into the Bijou Twins quite a bit to watch the movies because we were showing art films, we were showing cult movies. It was a revival movie house, so if you wanted to see an old movie on a big screen, we were who you'd have to come to. And so Quentin came quite a bit. And one week he came every night. And the movie he was seeing was called Moon in the Gutter. And it's got the same cinematographer that did the French movie Diva. So the cinematography in this movie is actually really, really cool. It's called Moon in the Gutter because the opening scene is you're going up a gutter, you see a dark liquid in the gutter, you see the moon reflected in the dark liquid in the gutter, and then you start seeing the body of the girl who's been killed, and it's her blood, and the moon is reflecting in her blood in the gutter. And then the entire movie is a whodunit, like who killed this girl. Now, every night that Quentin came in to the theater to watch this, he and I would chat afterwards about movies and about various things. It took him, I think, 6 nights to find out who done it. Because the movie doesn't resolve that. You know, it's the brother of Natasha Kinski who's trying to figure out who murdered his sister. And he never finds it out. But apparently the clue, according to Quentin, is you do see the shoes of the murderer at one point, and that's how you know. So yeah, Quentin was a regular during the Bijou Twin Cinema days.
So when I was in 11th grade at Maricosta High School, this was in 1995, I was looking for a job, and I just wanted to work at one of the coolest minimum wage jobs in the South Bay, and I thought, like, it's either Alternative Groove Records or the Bijou. And so Alternative Groove had just closed down, so I approached the Bijou, and I guess it was perfect timing of where the other guy working at the snack bar had just gotten married and was going on a honeymoon for a few weeks, so they needed somebody. And so I got the job, and I worked there for the last year that it was open, from 95 to the end of 96, as the snack bar guy. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of great people that worked there, and eclectic people, and then the crowd was pretty diverse as well. There were like regulars that would come in and see every single movie that played at the Bijou, and then there were others that would just come in randomly. I remember when Trainspotting was playing there. There was this older couple that would go to see every movie, and they walked out of that movie after like 5 minutes. they just couldn't handle the opening scene is like just a bunch of junkies, so it was a pretty intense movie. And so I don't know if there were regulars after that.
The theater has had, like, in my lifetime, like 2 different lifespans. One when it was the Cove, when I was growing up to like late teenage years, and it was known for having surf movies, which we'd go see. And then it was famous for having the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think it was Friday and Saturday nights, where it ran for a couple years. And I was in about 5th grade, and my mom was cool enough. She was super curious about it, so she took me and my little sister. She was a bit older, so we were definitely the youngest people there, and my mom was the oldest person there, but we had the best time, and it was so cool to see all the teenagers all dressed up in the costumes and singing with the songs, and it was really a scene.
So I remember the Bijou Theater in the late 70s or early 80s, when we would go to the theater and the owner would be in the ticket selling booth, and he would sell you the 2 tickets, and then you'd go in the door into the theater, and he would come out from behind the ticket selling booth and take the ticket and tear it in half and give you your half back. And then after enough people had come in and were wandering around the area there, he would come out of the ticket booth and go behind the counter and sell you the popcorn for the movie. And then after he had all the number of people who were going to be there, the 10 or 15 of us who would be there for the showing, he would lock the door and then go upstairs and put the reel of film on and start the movie.
I think that's
He
great.
was quite a one-man band, is what he was.
I was 17 years old, so at that time, to make the Bijou Twins profitable, the theaters ran quite a number of X-rated movies. One of my favorite double bills was like Flesh Gordon and Cafe Flesh. And I was not allowed in the theater on those days because I was too young to be inside the facility. So I was out in the ticket box out front selling tickets. And I have a lot of memories of men coming up to buy tickets from an obviously teenage girl. And they knew very well what movie we were playing that day, but they'd all be like, "Oh, my girlfriend is shopping. And I thought I'd watch a movie while she's out and about. What is it that you're playing today? Cafe Flesh? Flesh Gordon? Why, I've never heard of those things, but okay, whatever. I'll buy tickets." It was a lie. They all knew what it was playing that day, because it was the same guys every time we played these movies. But all in our defense, all the porn movies that we showed were on the art film side of these things. So
The last week that the Bijou was open, pretty much every night was sold out. Everybody just wanted a chance to get their last experience at the theater. And the theater was getting closed down because the building was so old. It had been built in like the 20s, I think, as like a vaudeville kind of theater, if I recall correctly. And it was being closed to be renovated to be more earthquake safe, and so we had to close the theater down. And the second to last night that it was open, about 10 minutes after the last movie got out, we just heard this loud, crash, and we were in the lobby. I was cleaning up the snack bar and all that, and we go into the theater that's on the right side, and huge chunks of the ceiling had just fallen down onto the seats below, and really damaged some of the seats like significantly, and like just chunks of concrete had fallen, and there was no earthquake. It just like did this unprompted. And so, if the movie had been 10 minutes longer, it might have actually killed people if they were sitting there. But the next night was the last night, so we still had one more night that the theater was open. And instead of, closing down the theater because it might be dangerous, we just taped off the seats that were damaged and spray painted a big closed sign on this piece of wood and put it in the seats, and those were blocked off. And so we still had the last night, and nothing else fell from the ceiling that last night, so all was good. But so many people were very, people were so appreciative of the theater. Like those last few nights, just people were so kind of happy and sad to come into the theater with those last times. And it was just sold out. Like lines were around the block for every single movie. Even if people didn't want to see the movie that was playing, they just went to go, experience the Bijou.
Chung, I think, is a Korean. I think originally he owned it when we moved in. And then Mike and Joe, whose last name I forgot, bought it. And they're the ones who essentially had to give it up when their retrofitting laws came into effect. It was just going to be too much money. And it was kind of a tragedy. It's an example of being kind of priced out of the market. And as a consequence, we lost a revival theater. There was a Spaniard named Ramon, and he and his mother would show art movies. And it was great. I mean, the guy was a real lover of film, and he selected really good films to show. So we lost that and got another bank.
And a coffee bean.
There was a brief period when it was Gallery C, which was this really high-end art gallery. And it was kind of a passion project for a very wealthy guy. And I don't think it lasted much more than a year, but it made for a couple of good parties.
But it was just a really pretty theater, and it was special, and it was a time where someone my age could go back in time and see what it was really like for past generations, what they saw, and preserving that type of architectural detail. You're stepping back in time. You feel it when you walk in. It's just so beautiful, and I miss that. I miss having some place like that.
Few people know that the rake in the theater, which is actually the sloped area where the seating is going towards the stage, is still there. The horizontal concrete slab that's there today is above it. So that means that someday Hermosa Beach may have its theater back. Perhaps a venue for a dinner theater. A boy can dream.